Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia, it's time for Cherokee Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Hi, everybody. My name is Renee, and I'm with
Amy.
And we are with KidBiz Radio. We are here to create conversations about the power of entrepreneurship and the positive impact that journey can have on kids. Today, we are here with Bobbi Cowart and Andrew Reibly from VIBE Realty right here in Woodstock. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So, as you know, we're all about businesses and kids learning through being business owners. So can you tell us a little bit about your business and how you got started?
Sure, yeah. So I am originally just a custom builder and renovator. And when we had the recession back in 2009, I decided to get diversified and become a realtor. So I still do both. And Bobbi and I met at a previous brokerage and became fast friends and have done deals together and been project partners and that kind of thing. And so that's my story.
Okay.
Well, I was a banker in a previous life, and when 2007 through 9 happened, I lost my job because I was a commercial lender for small community banks and had to regroup and figure out what to do. I had a ton of real estate knowledge through that, so real estate seemed like a natural path, and I had a great mentor that encouraged me to get my real estate license, so I did.
Okay, great. I know you said you do general contract work as well.
I do.
So is that something, do you feel like that's more full-time, or is it like, which one do you do more often, or is it really just? Really,
they're both, because the way I categorize it is it's real estate services. I'm just a full-service real estate service company and guy. So I can help you buy a property or buy land and build on it and sell your property. So it's just a full-service deal. It goes hand in hand.
Do you feel like it's really helped with your general contracting business to find other?
Big time. I mean, great book to read, especially for your listeners and the kids, is Who Moved My Cheese. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful book. It's a very simple. Have y'all heard of it?
I've heard of it,
but I've never read it.
Trust me when I tell you, y'all should read it. Everybody should read it. It is a wonderful book, and it's just basically about getting diversified, but it's a very easy, simple read. It's almost Dr. Seuss-ish. Yeah. And so, but it's great. I think I wanted to have my business modeled that way. And so to answer your question, it's diversified sort of within the same kind of industry. So I think it's been phenomenally helpful.
They complement each other.
They really do. My main revenue stream would be the building side, and then as a secondary is the real estate, if you want to kind of, rank them or whatever. Mm-hmm. But they're relatively close, and it's all tied together in terms of, you also think of, everybody, of course, initially thinks of revenue streams and stuff, but for the marketing aspect as well, too, right? Because if I'm talking to you about, buying and selling you guys' house and the real estate side, I'm also a builder. Oh, I have somebody, or maybe I want to do that. So it really is a great marketing tool for that.
And you have the knowledge of what someone's getting into and what to look for, and land. And
that's a huge deal. On the real estate, a lot of my clients like using me because I think there's better realtors like Bobbi, I think, is a better realtor. But people will use me because I'm a builder. So they're like, I want your builder eye on these projects. Or if it's an investment deal, I do investments as well, like flipping houses and things. So they bring me in on that as well. So
it's a huge advantage for our brokerage too. Mm-hmm. Most brokerages don't have a general contractor who especially is an owner. Yeah. And because he's not just an agent, he's an owner, he's invested in this business. So our agents have access to a general contractor. So that's huge. When you get those scary inspection reports on a home, they have a resource to come talk to, not just the inspector, but someone who's actually renovating and building. So I think it's a huge advantage for our agents. That's and not unless you're with VIBE. You're not going to have access to Andrew unless you're paying him.
Nice marketing.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you guys leverage that in your general marketing that you do. I know you mentioned it, but
it's certainly a value add for our brokerage, and it's not just corporate speak, it's actually in marketing. Of course you become friends with people in the brokerage, and they know they can come in anytime and chat with me about, what I think about this or that. And is this serious, not serious? And happens all the time. And I think it is a great value add for our agents and us, for sure.
That's awesome. So you guys were talking a little bit about investments and things like that. And our topic today is introducing kids to personal finances and budgeting. And I think regardless if someone has children or not, is a lot can be added to the conversation because everyone has experience with money. Everybody uses money. You have your own childhood experiences and how you learned it or didn't learn it.
For sure.
And I think that all of the different perspectives and frames of references to where you are now can help other parents out there and kids learn.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Bobbi was saying beforehand, she goes, well, I don't have kids, so I don't know what I do. But she's a banker. So
yeah, you know about money.
That's a huge, and as a value add to VIBE Realty, being a banker and a commercial lender, she brings a huge part to the financial piece and to this conversation.
Absolutely.
I think she's super valuable as well.
Maybe have experienced some things.
For sure.
Like maybe with young buyers, maybe they've come through that they didn't know and things like that. Just buying a house. I mean, that's kind of part of the whole money talk too, how it works, how credit works and all. I mean, it opens up to a larger conversation. Our target audience around middle school tends to be where we get a lot of interaction. And so trying to not dumb it down, like it's the worst word in the world or phrase in the world, but make it engaging for kids that age.
And simplify it.
Right.
Like you were talking, it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah. Right. You were talking about the Who Moved My Cheese being like, no one wants to read a textbook on that kind of thing.
Right.
Even for adults, it needs to be engaging.
Absolutely.
So,
well, and I'll tell you, and really, I think it becomes it's self-indulgent for adults a lot of times, and I'm that way. I'm very nerdy. I love to drill down, and I know I'll probably drive, people crazy with data points, and I want to know this and listen.
No, not at all.
It's fair. And, but that's just because I enjoy it. Self-indulgent. I think we all want to feel like we're smart in doing that. But listen, honestly, nothing in life has to actually be complicated. Absolutely nothing. And if you're super smart, you can run down rabbit holes and all, but you can also then translate it to that. And I think, what y'all are doing is wonderful with kids and entrepreneurs. Oh yeah. Because obviously we're entrepreneurs. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love, having my multiple businesses, and I think it's the absolute backbone of our country's economics. And, I can't imagine ever being, stuck in a corporate office, and God bless people that can do it, because we got to have them too.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, they're like the old Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner where they clock in and clock out. It's definitely not a thing for me, but I think it's great that people can do that. But teaching kids to be entrepreneurs is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that impacted me from like thinking about how I manage my money, and especially savings is very important to me. I learned it because my parents didn't do that. Mm-hmm. So anytime there was an emergency or something breaks at the house, my parents were constantly scrambling, trying to figure out, how do we pay for it? Can we get a new credit card? So
that sticks with you.
I learned by seeing maybe what not to do. So I'm not a parent, but I was a child. So I kind of saw some things that
makes a difference. Yeah.
It structured how I tried to live my life.
Yeah.
I think those lessons are just as impactful as
absolutely
as what to do. In fact, I think those lessons are actually more impactful. You can learn stuff, but we all know, I used to, when my kids were growing up, I coached football and softball for my daughter. And, it's one thing to tell a kid that you're going to get hit and it's going to hurt. It's not going to kill you. You're going to be fine. But until you actually get hit and have the wind knocked out of you or a ball hit you or something, skin in your knee, and then you figure out, okay, maybe I should not do that, kind of thing. So I think that's super impactful. I think seeing what not to do.
And being able to share that experience, that's what we kind of are wanting to do here, is be able to share the things that you did learn. And I know some people learn through experiences, have to learn the hard way, they say.
Absolutely.
I'm not that person. There's people in my life that are. My husband's one of them. That's, I think, why we work well together, because he just had the courage to try things anyway and learn that way. Yeah. But I was the one afraid to break the rules, and I want to know what the rules were and that kind of thing. So I was like, oh my gosh, and I had to, I needed to know step 1, 2, and 3. But yeah, being able to share the things, because regardless of how prepared you think you are, there's always something that life, a curveball or something that life will throw you. So I just kind of wanted to jump into a topic, because she and I both have, I don't know if you've heard of the green light card.
I have not.
It is and I'm sure there's other ones out there, but she and I both use these with our kids. And they are debit cards that a kid can have that runs through your bank, but you have an app. So you can pull money from your bank into your parent wallet and then disperse that money to the kids. And they can save, spend, give, that whole thing, but they see it digitally. That's how everything's done. I know when I was growing up, my mom gave me an old check register, and we did my money that way, and she would write me a check, and because that's what it was in the late 80s, right?
There were no portals.
There weren't. And so, we're just taking the same idea of teaching your kids money and good habits, et cetera, and doing it the way it is today. I don't know if you want to talk about the positive experiences you've had with it, or.
Yeah, I can. Absolutely. So I have 3 daughters, and they each have a green light card, and it's been really beneficial because it's a lot easier because I never carry cash, but to give them their allowance, and they can see money coming in. They can order their own things on Amazon and see money going out. They can use them. They have PIN numbers. They can go to the store and use them. And so they each individually have their own businesses. So when they get a profit from our expos and have a really good day, we disperse it between spending and savings, and they can see their savings grow versus in their spending categories. So I think for them, it's been really beneficial. It's not just like, because it's visual. It's not just like at the bank somewhere and they don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So them seeing like, oh, well, my sister has this much in her savings and maybe I should catch up or whatever, or like I have this much in spending, and do I need to spend it all right now, or can I transfer some? And so they're learning a lot through that. I think it's been great.
Makes them think twice before buying the thing at the store.
Well, one of them is very money conscious. The other 2 are like, let's spend it now.
This is so true.
Well, it's cool that, I think that's cool. And you were talking before about you and your husband, huge difference between boys and girls, how we do things. Mm-hmm. And we talk about that a lot. And I think it's great to have both perspectives. Mm-hmm. It's yin and yang. Mm-hmm. I always say that girls are more smarter than guys.
Well,
exactly, but it's not better necessarily. Right. It just means you guys think about things more. And, I know most guys like me are like, I want to think about it, but there comes a time I'm like, we're going to try
Make a decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not get – in fact, we just had a mastermind where don't get paralysis by analysis. Mm. And I think women are prone to do that a lot of times because of the security aspect. It's like, that's not safe. I got to do this. I got to protect my family. It's just in you. Mm-hmm. And I think you have to account for that, and those are smart deals, but to me, it can also be a little bit of a curse. Right. Whereas guys, we can also be a little too dumb and go quick. So there's a sweet spot, I think. And I think Bobbi and I work well together because we tend to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm like, let's think about it for a minute, but then go. And she's like, wait, I got to think. And I'm like, I just, basically grab her hand and we're doing this. Yeah. And she's like, oh God, here we go. And
you get a day.
Well, the only issue I have is a lot of times we're jumping out of the plane and I'm still trying to put parachutes on. What is going to happen?
And I tell her, you have the rest of your life to put your parachute on the way down.
Oh gosh.
I'm an old paratrooper, so we'll do airborne jokes sometimes.
That's funny. I like it.
It is good to have someone though to push you outside of your comfort zone, because when you are ultra conservative, especially on a financial side, that can be very good. Mm-hmm. but it can also hold you back from making investments that can make you a lot of money.
Right.
So
that comfort zone.
Sometimes it's good to have someone that's like, okay, we analyze the numbers. We're like, go, let's do it. Go.
Right.
Do it scared. I think that's kind of my motto.
That's
nowadays.
kind of how this brokerage was too at a certain point, right? Like we talked about it. We talked about it years before we did it. And then circumstances were different for both of us. We were at the same brokerage again and not happy with certain things. So we started a discussion and I had to push him into the discussion. And then once I pushed him in, he's pushing me out of the plane again.
You're like, wait a minute.
Yes. So,
Okay, be careful what you wish for, though.
Yeah. That's true.
right.
Yep. Well, she and I work well, the yin and the yang too, with this.
Complementing different personalities.
Yeah.
I think you come up with a process, right? And then both of those are valuable. I think our politics today could use that, you know?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Gosh.
look what a mess that is, and people don't even want to talk about it. And what a great subject that we all want to talk about, but then it gets
Too messy sometimes.
It gets too messy, and it's like, why? You know, you need both sides of those things. You know?
Information.
You need information, and you know, there's a compromise to be found in the middle for everything. I think there's also seasons in life, like you guys have, you know, adolescent children, I guess you would call them, or whatever. Your season is going to be much different, you know, now than it will be, as I am an empty nester now. So the way we look at things and manage money and how we teach kids and talk to kids, I think it's brilliant. Y'all are talking to kids about money and intentional. I think everything should be intentional about that, like you guys were talking about doing, because now I'll tell you what's wonderful is I talk to my kids who are grown. They're 24 and 23. You know, he's an Army Ranger and she's a nurse, and I get to talk to them about what they do with their money and things, and they come to me for advice. And
did you do that when they were younger?
Absolutely.
So you've just developed this relationship.
Absolutely. And it changes as they grow.
Yeah.
You know, I always believed in being intentional, and, you know, was raising, they were kids. I was raising adults. So, you know, would talk to them like you guys do. I love the green money card thing is a wonderful deal, and saying you have to save because there's things you're going to have to pay that you don't want to pay. And if you spend it all, then you're going to be in trouble. And it's amazing that, a lot of adults don't know that.
They don't.
You know, it's tremendous. It's like, and I used to be harsher. I've gotten older. I think I'm moving into grandpa mode, but I'm like, you know, how stupid is that? You know, and how can they not know that? But they just really don't know it. They've never been taught or trained or those kinds of things. And so I think, yeah, I definitely did it with my kids and said, you know, here's the deal, and you can save your money, you can spend it, give them the option, let them develop the thought process of how they manage their money.
See which direction it leads them, like, and what the good and the bad of that is.
Yeah, and let them go through and skin their knees sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
If they want to spend it all,
Now's
and
the
run
time
out of money
to skin that knee.
Yeah, and that ties back into where we are with our organization, just teaching them these hardships now.
You betcha.
And they become lifelong skills in the long run, right? Like,
I love that.
We're teaching them that, yeah, you can mess up and you can make poor choices.
And you'll be okay.
But you'll be
recover.
okay. And it's better to do that now and understand that process and that journey rather than later in life when it's a lot harder and there's more factors.
For sure. I think it's wonderful. Yeah. And when they do, you know, they decide to spend their money, don't bail them out.
Right.
If your other kids are eating and you're like, oh, I feel bad because they're not, don't feel bad. You are teaching them the greatest lesson ever. The feel bad is yours.
It's your problem.
Right.
Yeah, it's like it's your thing.
It's your thing.
Yeah.
Let them sit over there and go,
You're not doing them any favors.
you ain't doing them any favors. You're making yourself feel better. Let them sit over there and hate that. And then the next time, I bet you that kid goes, you know what? I'll save my money because I want ice cream with my brothers and sisters and friends next time. Just the greatest lesson you can teach them that will give back to them for the rest of their lives.
It's like you said, you're raising adults.
Yeah,
they're
you are.
kids,
That's
but
right.
you need to guide them, and that's your job as a parent is to make sure they're ready.
Yep.
And when you were talking about kids that you've seen, or just in general, like how do kids not know this? It's you want them to feel empowered
for sure
and have the resources that you need, and it's about, I guess, having control in their life and having a plan. And, yes, things can go south, but you can talk about that as they grow up. And it's just having real applications, like with the way that we use the green light card, and just through the experience of building a business and showcasing it at our expos and all of that. It's all to give them something to, because we were talking about, I think, about kids, and needing to be engaging. Just telling them isn't, we're just trying to provide those
living
experiences
it and feeling
and living
it and doing
and
it.
Totally.
The hurt and the tiredness of being up, making your inventory at, up to
Absolutely.
midnight or whatever, getting
that's
ready
wonderful.
for it. Like you learn things and responsibility, and then the pride they get afterwards. That's huge.
That's so
I think
wonderful.
something that we see with a lot of realtors is that they don't save for taxes, for example.
Right.
So when you're talking about these children as being entrepreneurs and building a business, and then you talk about, like your example was, well, now I don't have any money because, so I can't have ice cream with my siblings. There's also a business component in there that,
Sure.
like, for example, for me, to make things simple for me with my budgeting, when I make money, I just do everything in percentages. So I move a certain percentage into savings, a certain percentage goes towards taxes, and then I figure out what, then I have a percentage for all my expenses.
Right.
So I think sometimes just breaking it down into like percentage categories.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And that way they make sure they set aside. But that is one thing that we see. It's a big problem.
I bet.
With some, especially realtors, right? Because sometimes they don't think of that as like they're a real business. And then they haven't saved for their taxes. And then
it's a
it's
nightmare.
It is for sure a nightmare because
Oh my gosh.
That's
Uncle Sam does not play when it comes to that.
no.
Right.
So we want to help people before they get there.
I think
Yes.
that's a great idea.
Also, with the green light card, you can, and not that this is like just a commercial for green light, but just something that I've noticed. You can categorize their savings portion. So we've broken theirs down into like just general savings and business savings, because they know that
Great.
mommy can't be the sole investor in every single thing for their business. Like, I'll do the big stuff, but if there's something else and you have money in that business savings account, guess where that money is going?
Right.
You need to buy more supplies. So just like reiterating breaking it down into different categories, like you will have to reinvest in yourself and your business.
Super smart.
Yeah.
Oh, those are huge. And, like Bobbi was saying, I mean, she's one of the smartest ladies with finances and all that thing ever. And
I do love it, actually. I'm a finance major also.
Yeah.
Yes.
so she
Numbers are your jam.
100%. And she can go down a rabbit hole and get as complicated as you want. But think about what she just said. She just breaks it down simple. Very simple. So
Otherwise, I won't do it.
Yeah, right. And your process, that's the perfect point, is know it, get as extensive knowledge as you want on it, but just have a very simple process. X goes to taxes for saving, X goes to reinvestment, and X goes to play. Because I think that's a huge part. We work to enjoy our lives. So make sure you're intentionally, doing those things. But I think it can be very simple. I think you want to study it and know it and get smart, but be intentional, make it simple. And if you follow that, it'll keep you out of trouble.
For sure.
So the reason I brought up green light was, and the reason this whole topic came to be was because I get that I have one, but it's in my Facebook feed, ads for it. And one came up the other day, and the ad is for kids getting paid doing chores around the house. That's how they marketed it in this particular ad. Well, I went to the comment section, and there were people just saying, you shouldn't, this is like just dogging the whole concept because you shouldn't pay your kids to do chores around the house. I think, my ever so humble opinion, that everybody's family values around that are going to be different. And what I commented was, think outside the box on how you can use this tool. It's a tool to teach your kids. Like, that's the whole point of it. And if you personally don't want to pay them to do chores, what else can they do to earn money?
Right.
Because that pride part, or delayed gratification, is there some sort of goal you can set because they want a bike? You can have them do certain things, whatever it is,
sure. Yep.
because they're just writing it all off, and you're missing the whole point. So we kind of had a good talk about it the other day.
Right. I mean, you have to set, like, so for my kids get paid on their chores, but they also have their businesses where they make money. But it's set up differently where like certain chores earn you more things, just like in the real world. Look at it more like a commission rather than like an allowance or whatever.
I love that.
What work you put into it is the reward you get out of it versus like the amount of money that you get out of it.
Oh my goodness. Can I stop you there and tell you how important that is? Because we have, this country is getting to be, and it's not, I'm not going down a political rabbit hole, but we don't
have time for that.
Right. But the country is becoming very socialistic in that. And I think, it's such a foolish thing to not teach your kids that some things are more valuable than others. And look at the mess we're in right now with college loans and all that. Oh, you got to go to college and get an art history degree and have $100,000. If you know business, that is a terrible investment. Go to trade school, become a plumber. We said earlier I was a builder, my electrician, my builder, my electrician, my plumber, my HVAC man, my framers are all 6-figure people.
And it's a trades. Yeah.
Because it's a trade. It's valuable.
Yes.
Now, it's not to denigrate anybody, but jobs that aren't as important, they are not going to get paid more. Valuable lesson. Everybody wants this thing about participation trophies. No, the quarterback gets paid more. You know why? He's more valuable. He is. Don't take it as he's a more valuable person.
But what he does,
his role.
So the whole thing,
it's different.
People get it so messed up, and it's like, who?
Right.
I think everybody's got 100% value, as a person and God's
individually.
eye,
but when you put it into a work environment, it changes.
It does. It changes big time. And that's why Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, who was on Thursday Night Football last night, are billionaires because they came up with something that was so super important and they get paid. That is a huge lesson to teach. I mean, it's one of those things to where, and if it's your calling, then teach them. Okay. Pastors, generally don't make that much money. It's your calling. Your value's different, but you really better know how to manage your money because you're going to make less of it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. You can still find your passion and what moves you, but you have to understand the value and where your money is going to come from and how that's going to impact what you're doing, or if that is going to impact what you're doing.
I think it teaches kids like chores, for example, when they're younger. I think it teaches them too that when you are out in the real world doing your job, there are going to be tasks that you love doing and tasks that you really hate doing or dislike very strongly, but you still have to do them to earn the money, right? So I'm sure cleaning toilets is on the bottom of the list where, maybe wiping the countertops off is not so bad.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that that's important to understand that that's part of life and it's going to be part of your work. I love being a realtor. There are parts of my job I do not like. I love being a brokerage owner. There's parts of that I do not like.
Could that be partner related?
There has to be ups and downs.
I'm kidding. No.
Of course there. Yeah, I will brag on my daughter, or my oldest daughter, who's in the room with us. She's 13, and so her skill set is going to be different than her 7-year-old sister. So she cooks dinner for the family twice a week. That job gets paid more because that's a skill set that she has that her sisters don't have, right?
Absolutely perfect.
But does feeding the dogs that's a daily menial task, right? That doesn't get the same amount or commission or whatever. So,
but do you guys talk about all of that? It opened a conversation.
With her, yes. It has opened up that conversation and just learning because she's always like, why do I have to do it if she can do it too? Or, like the same thing, but it's the concept of, well, that is part of the household. That is something that you can handle, and things of that nature. And do you have to keep your room spotless? No, but you have to, I'm trying to teach you to be an adult at some point. Like there are things, there are things that you have to do, whether you want to or not.
You may hate me for saying this, but I think there could also be some negotiation skills learned in the chores, even amongst siblings. Because let's say one of your chores is cleaning the toilets. Well, you could negotiate with one of your other siblings.
Right.
Well, they do it anyway,
to
don't
keep
they?
a portion of the money for it.
That is
it's
smart.
yours,
Absolutely.
And pay them to do it for you.
I think so
Yeah.
far ours
Why
isn't
not?
as much negotiating as maybe conning their sisters to help or to do more.
Bribery's not allowed, so let's say negotiation.
We're going to call it negotiating.
Negotiations.
Absolutely. Yes. Learning how to do that.
I think that's brilliant. And if you find a kid that's getting paid X and pays them less to have their little siblings do it, I think
Right?
that is next level.
It's management, right?
It's management. They just
Some
became-
parents that listen to this are going to be like, who is that Bobbi girl that said she had no children? Why is she
No,
telling her
I
kids
think
to do
that's
this?
eye-opening. It's management. You're still teaching them life lessons.
100%.
outside
And
the
the
box,
things are
like you
still
said.
getting done.
100%.
So if there's another way to do it that everybody, quote unquote, wins, why
Problem
not?
solving.
It's problem solving
Critical
skills.
thinking.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
I've probably just caused a lot of
No,
arguments
I
about
think
between
you
children.
I think you opened eyes. I don't think.
Yeah, no, we talked. I mean, the whole thing was thinking outside the box. Like it brings that conversation to the forefront, and you get to have these,
Yeah,
ideas
I mean, you
come
need
out.
different perspectives. Like, there's no one way.
I am so impressed with what you guys do in this whole deal. Oh, I think it's phenomenal. I think it is definitely a part of our solution to society. I always say millennials get a bad name, probably well-deserved in a lot of cases, but I'll tell you something. They're just people like everybody else and somehow have locked into a misguided idea, but what y'all are talking about, God, if people will just teach their kids these basic things, they will go forward and they will be fine. They will be
something I
fine.
think that you guys do that is extremely important in the age where most children are behind a screen of some sort is teaching them people skills and the fact that you provide networking opportunities with their peers. So I was
cool.
reading on your website about the things you provide.
Yeah.
And I think that is essential because there's always going to be a certain amount of communication in most jobs with like human interaction. And if the children don't have a chance to learn those skills in a business setting, like they're doing this for their
For themselves.
businesses.
Yeah.
Like I think that that's a wonderful opportunity you provide.
We noticed too, like at our expos, so these kids who may not have a lot of experience talking with adults outside of their family or even their or in peers in general, just that physical communication, they come out of their comfort zone because adults are taking interest in what they're doing, and that you see that sense of pride and confidence grow because they're engaging, and it gives them that power back. Yeah, this is my business. This is what I do. This is my passion, and I want to talk about it. And adults are like, please tell me all about it. Why did you choose this? It's a different environment than you would say like a regular vendor market where it's just adults that are just there selling. You don't really do that engagement with.
It's not expected there.
Because it's not
That's
expected,
right.
but these kids, people want to know, like, this is
Different.
it's different, and it's like you're curious and all of that, and so adults are engaging, and it gives the kids this power and that confidence, and it comes back to that communication. Like our kids have learned how to communicate with adults, and that's huge.
It is a huge deal, and I'm very nerd. My degree's in sociology, so I'm a builder with a sociology degree and a minor in history. So one of the most successful. There was a study done. So for the most successful people in life, they were kids that would talk to adults, and that is a direct correlation of how they were raised. So, it used to be in the older days. Don't speak until you're spoken to, and all these things. And they showed where kids that were allowed to be engaging were ultimately more successful. And because something also, like from the biological standpoint, their brains are being wired.
Yes.
They are, until they're 24, their frontal lobe is not developed yet. So when you're teaching them these things, it is wiring their brain to be successful and to have processes and do things that's amazing. And so, there's that component to it, which you don't even know you're doing it. But I think the part that pays benefits is you bonding with your kid and other. When I coached, I love talking to kids. And when I would let them be involved and engaging, like for instance, a kid, I say, I want you to go here and hit that hole with the ball and go to the outside. And do you think that will work? Because first of all, they're on the ground. You know, it's like troops, boots on the ground kind of thing. And they're like, well, I think I should go this way. Does a couple of things, probably successful because they know better than me standing over there coaching, but also it gets them to engage with you. So when you're engaging with money and it's wiring their brain to develop processes on how to have relationships with people. And listen, it's such a trifecta of things that are good, doing these things, being intentional.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, well, before I lose it, because I do that, like my thoughts here. But when you were talking about engaging with them, it does develop that, but it also teaches them that what they have to say is valuable and that their opinion matters.
You bet.
And then that gets them thinking even more, because if they're always shut down, then they're just like, they might go into themselves and not really think that what they have to say matters.
So true.
So I think that's...
If you think about how many things have been invented, like all the technology, all the tools, all the things that we have in this world, I personally think it's going to take kids, because their minds work so much different than adults, to come up with the next business ideas.
Right.
I mean, there are super smart adults that do that too, but their minds don't work the same as a child,
That's
right?
so true. That's so true.
And having the generation that grew up only using it is they're going to find a way to utilize it into something else.
Which we didn't, right?
Which we have
So when you were talking about, we are elder
millennials. So we
were born in 83.
Yeah.
And
Just
so,
insulted our hosts.
Yeah,
No,
it's
no,
okay.
no.
We're
I
going to
just thought it
pretend
was
that
funny.
you did it.
I tried not to.
I think it's
I did
funny,
it in
though.
a soft way.
No, we think
don't-
it's funny.
We are more similar to Gen X than an actual millennial,
See,
because we're on the
They
cusp.
identify as Gen Xers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we're on the cusp.
We've talked about it before. It's like 82, 83, 84. You know, my brother's born 86, and we don't necessarily, we're just, we just think differently.
Sure.
But I was doing like pagers in high school, and Facebook didn't happen until the end of college. And, so it was like we had our childhoods without all that, but we were young enough and willing enough to adapt to what was new.
For sure.
It's just weird.
Yeah,
like
we're right
going
in the
through
middle.
life this way, I have to say.
It's a tool for us older folks, and I've embraced it because I'm 53. So I've had to embrace it for business but also think it's cool. I embrace it, and I don't want to be old, just an old fuddy, the old builder guy. I try not to be that, but I think it's tools for us, right? And even y'all. So that's how it came along with this new generation, which I dig the portal and the green light card and all that. There's tools you have to meet them on their level with because they're, like Bobbi said, their brains are wired that way.
Completely different.
That's all they know.
They're not tools to them. They are just things in life that we,
normal day-to-day things.
Yeah.
Everything is through your phone now. It doesn't matter. Like that's
Right.
completely.
It's not a cool,
how
not
you
a cool
socialize.
innovation to
Yeah,
them.
it's nothing
like,
new.
Yeah, this is just what life is.
Right, so-
yeah.
Doing electronic banking and if anything like that makes way more sense than pulling out a checkbook ledger. Like, like there's no point.
For sure.
Unfortunately, but there isn't.
I agree.
Right.
So
I agree.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm just having this slide. Us having the experience we've had up till now and being those elder millennials that we are.
elders.
It has put
We've
us,
coined a new term.
maybe that has put us in a great place to do this organization because
so.
we have the perspective of both and can value both.
And our kids are growing up
In it, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. And just,
You have the wisdom of, that's the cool thing about the next generation and not growing up with it is you have wisdom to know what it was without it as well as what it is
benefits
with it.
and
If you're growing up with it, you don't know what the benefits were without it. So how do you sort of marry it and find the sweet spot on
for
that?
sure.
I know one of my favorite shows is Shark Tank.
Yes.
And
Yes.
my favorite ones that come on are the ones where kids have invented something or come up with something. And I think that they were able to do that because usually their parent is there and has supported them and has encouraged them to follow their dreams and go with what they're
Find a new path.
Yes, follow their passion. And I have a very good friend of mine that's been a friend for a long time. Well, him and his wife both. And they have 3 children, 1 son and 2 daughters. Well, their son does not play any sports or anything because they've allowed him to do what is his natural ability and passion, which is music.
Nice.
And they encourage him in every way possible to follow his passion. The girls do other things, but I think it's wonderful that they let them be who they are
Right.
and encourage them to go after their goals and dreams.
You almost have to, because it's just, they're not going to be their authentic self as an adult if it's your path for them, not their own path for them.
Such a great philosophy right there, and I don't know how. It was my wife. It had to have been my wife.
Yes, I will go with that.
She's a sweetheart,
like I said
for
earlier,
sure.
y'all are smarter, but I think letting kids be who they are and whatever their God-given talents are, everybody's different. But I think what you do, instead of teaching them to make money, do what your passion is. But if you're a musician, fine. You're going to need to be really sharp on your financial skills.
Or hire somebody that can do that for
hire
you.
somebody. Yeah, delegation's another topic.
Yes.
But yeah, just teach them how to, hey, chase your dreams, but understand this. There's not a lot of money in it. You just learn to live on what you make and how to manage it well. But do your passions. And to me, that's the sweet spot. I mean, my generation and the one before was like, what do you do to make the most money?
Yeah.
I don't care if you like it or you. In fact, there's an old saying, there's an old army saying and an old saying that says you don't have to like it, you just have to do it. And I think things have changed to where we want our kids to follow their passions. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, but just understand, I think where people get off track is they don't teach their kid that your passion doesn't pay much. That's fine. Just manage it well and just know you're not going to. And don't be bitter or upset because you don't make what your brother who's an engineer or a lawyer or something does.
I think it comes from a place of, as a parent, of concern. Like, you want your kids to be happy, but you don't want them to be unstable.
For sure.
So, but
it's hard, right?
It's a hard balance.
For
and
sure.
so, yeah, follow your passion, but you're not going to have any money, You're
going to live in my basement forever.
Yeah, forever. You're never leaving.
Well, there's the whole thing where if you try to monetize your passion, then you end up hating it. So you could just have a job of some kind, whether it's a bartender or something, because you can make good money doing that. And then you do your passion. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So
but
there's ways to do it. But
comes with the life lessons that you
exactly.
need to instill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's important to keep your passion and not try to.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
If you can.
Depending on what it is.
Yeah, for sure.
But the options that are out there to monetize certain things, should that make sense? Like art, maybe, selling it, that kind of thing.
Or influencers.
Yeah.
Like on this, I can't believe I'm going, that's a job?
Yeah.
Like, how do you, and they make tons of money from doing this, right?
Some influencers.
Some.
It's
It's
kind
a
of
smaller-
like, it's kind of like artist or something.
Pool,
It's
but
Right,
it's
you have
still possible.
It's still a thing.
It
Absolutely.
is.
It's
It is
possible.
a thing. I know.
Amazing to me.
But that
It
shows
is.
you,
It's
and
cool.
it ties into entrepreneurism, that like there are so many paths that we never had the thought
For sure.
of. You could do literally anything with technology now and turn it into a business.
Because that's so big.
For sure.
We're trying to let this help become something that can help it be more structured.
And
so
more
you
of a
can
focus.
Yeah. So that it can help kids realize that, it's not 1, 2, and 3. You've got these other things that you can do here.
But just think about them, right? And be intentional about what you do.
And smart about it.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's all these resources, and just trying to make it like a package. And, the parents, like, obviously this is, we want to have resources for the parents. That's where it all starts. And, you just need they may have kids that are entrepreneurial minded and they're not. So,
For sure.
they're like, I don't know what to do with this kid. They have all these great
Totally
ideas. And I
different.
want them to
Usually
follow
siblings are
their
totally
passion.
different.
Right.
Same
So
house.
they bring
Yeah,
them to
exactly.
you guys. That's
Yeah.
what they do.
Try to kind of
Give them
start
an outlet.
Give them the tools to have conversations, and
Right.
like, this is where you get started. And I think our Facebook post today was like 30 ideas for you to start up your a kid business or whatever, and they can just
great.
talk about it. Because somebody's like, I want them to, but I don't know
Where
what
to begin.
they can do.
Right.
And so we just want to have that
think
available.
And don't get paralysis by analysis. Just
True.
pick something
That's
and
funny. So
try
I was
it.
just going to say
great minds
that
think alike.
I think that kids need to be encouraged to not be afraid to fail. If they have a
Huge
business
component.
idea, it's okay if it ends up not working out.
Absolutely.
And you want to encourage them to take it as far as they can and
Yes.
see what happens. But I think some of the most successful people in the world share stories about how many times they started over because they had this idea and that didn't work.
Yeah.
Or they just had to enhance what they were doing. Like it wasn't working
Pivot.
this way. So now we've got to do this.
And all those critical thinking skills and problem solving that comes from that. Like, imagine starting that at 12 and not
Yes.
25.
For sure.
But not being afraid to say this didn't work,
Right.
or I'm just going to have to scrap it and start over if that's the case. Like, I think to let them know that's okay. That's not a failure. That's a growth.
It has nothing to
Absolutely.
do with your worth as a human.
Right.
It's separate from that.
Yes.
Oh, that's so
an
smart.
example of that within our organization. So, my middle daughter, she essentially started all of this because she is my free thinking.
Yep.
And she wanted to rule the world with cotton candy was her goal. And we did it for a little while. And that's what got her sisters involved and so on, and kind of like snowballed into all of this. But cotton candy is harder than it sounds.
Sticky.
It's a mess. But when you break a couple of toy cotton candy machines and then also a commercial grade cotton candy machine, you kind of have to pivot to something else.
Yeah.
So she learned the concept of rebranding. And
That's awesome.
why we need to try something different that we're not going to ruin mommy's house, but also that it is just more feasible and it makes more sense and it's easier for all of us because we're all the ones doing this. So now she does gourmet popcorn, and that is a much easier
Not
avenue
only
for
is
her.
it easier, but I think it appeals to more people.
And it
Oh,
is more
agreed.
appealing.
Totally.
Yeah.
She's made more money that
So
way.
she's learned a whole lot in that concept of like almost failure or, what growth.
I love
Learned a
growth.
Moving
lesson.
from one to the other. And so, yeah.
Well, it's smart, right? I mean, wow, how amazing. Pivoting is a huge deal in business, and teaching kids to do that, like you said, if they fail, they fail. Good. A lot of lessons learned. Let them skin their knee. That's a great thing, and they'll remember it forever. But sometimes you do have to pivot, in business, just like
Think about 2020.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Pivoting was
Many
crucial.
Either you
businesses
pivot
had
or
to
you're
figure
done.
out different
Yeah,
avenues,
absolutely.
right? Yeah.
And a lot of the businesses that failed that mindset isn't there, unfortunately.
Well, most of them, like Facebook, it's been through lots of iterations from when they were at Harvard or wherever they were doing it, and just to meet kids, and then it grew and they had to pivot and do this and monetize and blah blah blah. I mean, that's just part of life. Life changes
For sure.
So embrace the change. Be happy about that. And that's growth, not a failure for sure.
Yep, you're growing. Like the fact that maybe instead of like if they're adults and something's not doing well, it's like I'm going to pivot to make like you're testing the product. You can always a product or service. That's how you can always think of it, and then you're just trying to make it better.
Yeah,
it's not really failing at all.
And I think that's an important lesson for kids to know when they're becoming entrepreneurs.
Just rethink your thought process. Can have different words. Words are powerful. And,
for sure.
And kids are so great at social media. I think that it's a good idea to let them watch The Social Dilemma. It's like the Netflix documentary about social media and the power of it. And
have you guys seen that?
I haven't.
Keeping in mind,
It's
though,
wonderful.
how that works for business. Like, I had friends who told me about it before I watched it, and they were like, oh my God, you have to watch it. Like, now I just want to shut down all my social media. Well, when I watched it as a realtor and business owner, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I've got to learn how to harness the power.
Okay.
Right.
Same
of all
response.
this.
Interesting. Okay.
And I
Same
think
response.
children who already understand social media so well, if they could see the power and the impact that could have on their business,
Yeah, absolutely.
they already know how to do it. Probably.
Yeah.
Don't be. It's like it is a bit. I mean, you can look at it when you're watching it. It's sort of scary how, but it's like anything. Once you when you realize the boogeyman under your bed ain't really the boogeyman. And then it frees you up from that fear of things. And I was the same response as Bobbi. It's like,
Interesting.
I just need to harness this monster and not let it harness me.
Yeah. Right.
Well, that's it. It's a
Don't let it
tool to
use you,
use.
use it. Another
Don't
tool,
let
yeah.
it take over your life, but figure out how you can leverage
Be
that
in
tool.
control of it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of the lesson today is, having control and having a plan and being in charge of your own destiny, sort of,
For sure.
Knowledge is power. But I think that we are coming to the end of our time together. But I just wanted to thank you both for being here.
Of course.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. How can people find you online?
Well, we have a Facebook page. Imagine that. You do VIBE Realty GA. That's how you will find us. Or we have a website, VIBERealtyGA.com, and we're located right in downtown Woodstock, right behind Mad Life at 790 Market Street. So stop by the office. We have a bar. You're welcome to have a drink with us. If you don't drink, we have soda and coffee.
Kid show.
Oh, yeah, kid show. This is for the parents.
The parents are listening. The parents are listening.
Yes. It's real life, okay?
We also want to take a moment and shout out. Thank you so much for your sponsorship of our expos. That is huge. Being a 501c3, we rely heavily on the community's involvement and getting behind us. So we appreciate that.
You're welcome. Yes. I think it's a wonderful thing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Having an area where kids can learn more about business. And like you said, if they don't have parents that are entrepreneurs, having a resource to help them navigate that.
Well, and also knowing that we solely are not that resource, like having these network connections with community members and business owners to provide those resources is mostly our goal, like making a network of that. So there is a go-to source. We just want to facilitate it.
Well, I hope we can be partners with you guys going forward. We would love to continue to contribute in all ways.
We're sponsoring the October one.
Yes.
Too.
Thank you. So that is, thank you very much for that as well. Our next vendor, Kid Biz Expo Market, is October 1st, and we are in Crabapple Market. So that is 12650 Crabapple Road in Milton, Georgia. And we will be there Saturday, October 1st from 10 to 2.
Yeah. Come out and see us and take a look firsthand at all these kiddos. We have about 50 kid vendors that are going to be out there.
It's awesome.
So and it's the same day as Crabapple Fest. So there's going to be a whole lot going on, and it'll be a good
big
time.
Event, large event.
I want to come get some of that popcorn.
It's good.
It's good. She makes some interesting flavors.
Well, thank you again. We appreciate you being here, and we look forward to maybe getting you guys in a workshop one day. Maybe.
Love to.
Yeah, teaching some lessons.
Yeah.
Love to.
To a room full of kids. That'd be all great.
Well, thank you so much. And if you guys want to follow Kid Biz Expo, you can find us on all of our socials at Kid Biz Expo.
Or kidbizexpo.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.